Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Moxa edition of the Think Big Connectivity session. The session is going to be relatively short. We'll hope to get a touch on a number of key points for you, which we hope will generate a lot of additional discussions and kind of hone it to your specific needs. Today we'll be discussing industrial IoT, and Kerry Gunther, our IoT division manager, will do that. And I'll do a quick intro of our MRC, which is our Moxa Remote Connect, our secure remote connectivity solution. And I'll give you a quick demo, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and I'd like to welcome my friend and colleague, Mr. Kerry Gunther.
Thank you, Tony. I'm not seeing your screen yet. Maybe just.
Yep, I'm doing it right now. How's that?
There we go. All right, I like it. I'll talk and Tony drives the slides. Thanks for the intro, everyone. Excited to be part of the lightning round here, and we'll keep it short and sweet. Really, just try to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing in the market, quickly jump into solutions that we have in the IoT space, and really kind of take some of the theoretical into the actual deployment world. Because I think, from my point of view, I guess I've been with Moxa for 13 years now, the last 3 specifically managing our IoT division. The number one thing that customers ask me is, what have you actually deployed? So much of this is new and cutting edge and moves very, very fast. So we'll try to stick to, here's what you can actually do today, and a little bit of here's what's coming in the future. So with that, let's get rocking. I'm going to start with trends, challenges, a little bit of marketing here, and then again into the products. But I love this quote. This is from Kenny Warren, VP of Engineering at ExxonMobil. It really sets the stage, I think, for what you're seeing in the market, and really a larger disruption, if you will. But closed proprietary industrial control systems have served us well until now. But the future will be more IIoT-like, with more open and interoperable systems. And so if we expand on that and really kind of detail out specific trends, one of the absolutely critical pieces to this is moving intelligence to the edge. The PTC folks were just on here talking to you about their software that's being extended out to the edge. It's a great example of these large distributed networks, no longer the need for this large control center or brain to talk to dumb devices. The devices themselves are now becoming intelligent, and you can put these gateways to make deterministic calls out on the edge by itself. With that, you're seeing a trend in SCADA moving to the cloud. Again, I think the PTC folks are obviously doing that. The ThingWorx is a leading brand that takes some of these SCADA applications and moves to the cloud. These intelligent devices on the edge that can create their own data streams and push those up is exactly what we're talking about. And then finally, I like to put things in pictures because it makes it, at least for me, the most easy to understand. But if you look at the traditional Purdue model, 5-layer stack, I've seen a 7-layer stack. There's a number of different ways to depict this, but on the left-hand side, you have your traditional control system. Your I/O is being communicated to by your PLC. You're taking a control action there. You've got frequent polling going on. That then talks upstream to a SCADA system. Somewhere between the SCADA system and MES, you have a very clear break between your OT and IT departments. Some of that information, maybe not all, makes its way up into the enterprise or IT systems, your MES or your ERP. But you have a very clear hierarchy and separation here. And what's happening now with these edge devices is, sorry, go back for me, Tony. Tony's going to keep me on schedule here. Your I/O and your PLC now with these edge gateways can talk straight to the cloud. And so what you have is data flows that aren't following the traditional paths. So the PLC doesn't just push data to the SCADA system anymore. The I/O doesn't just talk to the PLC. These devices are generating data, IoT data, if you will, digital data, if you will, and they can now go straight to the cloud. And so you're having these far more distributed networks with data flows that don't follow these traditional patterns. All right, I'm ready now. With that, it's all cool. Our customers like it. You can do lots of advanced analytics and machine learning and equipment optimization. There's tons and tons of ROI and benefits. However, those do come with challenges. Right out of the gate, if you want to do a POC in a lab, no problem. You want to roll this out to 100, 1,000, 10,000 devices, hundreds of thousands of devices, it becomes very difficult to manage this distributed network because you don't have this hierarchy system anymore. In the traditional Purdue model, it's very easy to make these lines of control. In the IoT world, you now have these devices everywhere. So the management of that becomes far more complex than it ever has. The other thing that you have to make sure of is that you have flexibility and future proof. And you can do that with open standards and you can do that with different technology. But what PTC was showing you they have today, they've already got on their roadmap changes that'll be coming next month and the month after that. And Azure and AWS are constantly updating software. You might have a new analytics engine that you want to run in a year or two from now that hasn't even been developed yet. And so you have to make sure that what you install today is both open and flexible so that you can add and layer in future applications and architectures. And then the last one, this is a topic that would need hours just by itself, but security is a huge concern here because of this distributed network, because you have edge devices talking straight to the cloud, your penetration points, these non-traditional data flows create lots of gaps in the security space. And so there's a lot of things that Moxa can do, both from a hardware and software standpoint, to assist with security. So last theoretical marketing slide here, but it's a fun one to show, at least to give you an idea of where we are. Everybody's favorite Gartner hype cycle. I think this has been around for actually a very long time, kind of made a nice resurgence here in lots of marketing literature. But if I take a look at the hype cycle in the industrial space for IoT, it really is application and market specific on where our customers are on this hype cycle. If you look at building automation, we have many customers here. I would even kind of lump solar into this a bit, residential solar. These customers expect IoT. They absolutely will have remote connectivity. They're going to be pushing to a dashboard. There are markets where they're far into the plateau of productivity, quite frankly, because their customers demand it. The next one, remote asset monitoring. Couple different applications here. I would offer up upstream, midstream oil and gas. You have assets scattered all over a large geographical area. Industrial OEMs. We have HVAC manufacturers that put large compressors on the top of commercial buildings all over the world. And they're using LTE connectivity to talk to those control systems, get them to the cloud, and allow this interface. Maybe a little bit behind building automation, but absolutely this is being deployed today. It's not a theoretical, we're not having inflated expectations. These are deployed solutions. And then the last one is really a catch-all here, but I'll refer to it as traditional automation. And for me, this is manufacturing in its truest sense. It's IoT inside of four walls. And while it's not necessarily at the deployment or scale of remote asset monitoring, an HVAC OEM, a solar integrator, they are still moving quickly. And what we're finding now is even in these, inside of four walls manufacturing applications, we're still absolutely seeing customers now hit the turbo button. The work from home era, the COVID-19 is actually accelerating these projects.
So Kerry, how is Moxa IoT Group addressing these things? Do we have the products and capabilities to do that?
Yeah, I'll make a shift here into the products that we can actually bring to the table. And the answer to your question is yes. It's both. From Moxa's standpoint, I'd say there's the hardware component. We're a 30-year-old company that makes hardware. So for sure, for us, that's an open compute platform. What you see here is a tiered approach. A couple of years ago, we had kind of a one-trick pony that we tried to fit into every IoT application. That's now expanded into a suite of products. We run Linux across all of these. And if you start at the lower left-hand side, we're running small single-core ARM processors, Raspberry Pi-ish. As you go up and to the right, you get into dual-core ARM processors, 2 gigs of RAMs, LTE connectivity, Wi-Fi connectivity, TPM options for security. And then if you get all the way up to the upper right-hand side, we're releasing in July what we call our MC1200. This is actually an i7 computer, 32 gigs of RAM. You can run very, very advanced analytics, machine learning, video algorithm programs, very, very high compute capabilities. And so really providing the full scale of hardware. So just a couple slides to close out with, and Tony, I'm keeping an eye on the clock, so I'm gonna go quick here. But I'll put this out there kind of as a teaser. Reach out to our folks at AutomaTech or Tony, and let's get a little bit further into this. But we set out at the beginning of this year to absolutely move from theoretical to deployed solutions. And we put together what we call an IoT Playbook. And what that is really trying to define these architectures and solutions that our customers have deployed. And so if you look at it, it kind of goes from relatively simple to rather advanced. But the first one is Moxa actually has some software that can do some basic applications. I can take a Modbus device and I can publish to the cloud. I can POC that with you in about 10 minutes. From there, we can move into a SCADA edge type software solution. This is exactly what the Kepware ThingWorx Edge platform is. And there's a number of these out in the market. And the SCADA companies are putting these on the edge devices. A third-party IoT platform. There's companies that sell IoT as a service, and we can be a gateway for that. And then towards the end here, you can, of course, build your own. If you've got the capabilities, a DevOps team, developers, no problem. It's a Linux box. You can program as you like. And then finally, I'll leave you, you can maybe click to the next one here, Tony. We're doing a lot of integration today with Microsoft. Moxa's is regarding device management. And so you'll see we're showing Moxa Things Pro, and we're extending our Debian operating system, drivers, core security updates to the kernel. We're exposing that through Azure running on the edge. In conjunction, you can have other software. You can write your own. If you've got some protocols that you want to interface that ThingWorx has, you can drop that container in, and it really becomes this ecosystem of different components that can run on our edge device. I'll leave you with this. I think I went 1 minute over, Tony. I'll apologize now, but really what it all comes down to is IoT a few years back was all about how do I get data to the cloud? And a lot of that has been solved today, and there's a lot of companies that are still putting out products to drop in more protocols. But the advancement in IoT is now how do you do it at scale? And whether it's with a platform provider, a SCADA provider, something that you build yourself, integrating with Azure or AWS or Google tools, really now the advanced IoT applications are covering all these things like you see on here: provisioning, commissioning, remote software updates, security patches. These are Linux computers. They can't just be left untouched if they're internet facing. And so really, we're starting to work with our customers on, yes, here's how you architect and get the data, but bigger picture, here's how you do it at scale and support this long term.
Awesome. Thanks, Kerry. Thanks for that very quick rundown of a very complex subject.
You got it.
So that leads me to, that's kind of the Cadillac. I'd like to just go over real quick about our Moxa Remote Connect. It's kind of the secure remote connection for IoT. It makes it a lot easier and simple so that if you don't have all those analytic needs or, you know, the IoT, you know, pub sub type stuff, you just want remote access securely, and you want to be able to, you know, connect all across using either wired or LTE connectivity. Moxa has something for that as well. You can think of it as basically a giant cable through the cloud. That's kind of what we've hung our hat on with MRC. Is it's just basically a giant cable going through an AWS web service, and just being able to connect from anywhere in the world and be able to access it securely and remotely. Our MRC Gateway, just real quick, it's an LTE, so it's certified on AT&T and Verizon in the US. We do have TELUS in Canada as well, and we also have a wired version. The beauty of this is our, we call it our 555. It's a 5-year warranty. You get 5 gigabits of data per month. You can have 5 concurrent connections for 5 years. So it's basically a 555 type of system. and that's at no extra cost. A lot of our competition have different pricing models for their data. We give you 5 gigabits, which is a lot of data for doing remote connection for 5 years through AWS and an AWS instance. So just real quickly, it's a cloud-based secure remote access solution. You can access remote machines. You have complete control over it. It's a secure tunnel. It's a remote connection. And the beauty of it is we've also added auto IP mapping. So if you have a specific protocol or a specific application that has to have certain IPs, you can do that. It's very, very simple to do. You don't have to do any changes to your end device configuration, and you don't have to configure any NATing. So it's a really easy way to connect to pretty much any application you're going to be able to find. So just real simply, MRC, if you have edge devices you want to hook into and be able to monitor or get system logs or change configurations, you plug in an MRC Gateway. It's as simple as getting an email, plugging in the application or the email into the secure gateway client, and then being able to connect either your data center or through the cloud or to your own cloud. It's totally up to you. With that, I'll just show you real quickly exactly how to do that. Marty Rubenstein from AutomaTech was nice enough to allow me to utilize his MRC that's up in Danvers, Massachusetts. So basically what we're going to be able to do is, I'm sitting here in Worcester, Mass. I'm going to go through my ISP, go through AWS, through his firewall at AutomaTech in Danvers, to our MRC, and be able to look at, this is a view of our MX View, which is our network management software. I'll be able to view this. I could go in and be able to detail or configure any of these, look at any individual switches. It doesn't really matter. It's like I'm right on site connected to the system. So with that, I'll just I'll do a quick. I'll start up my remote connection. Again, I have the key that Marty gave me, so very, very easily generated. So I'll apply that key.
Tony, we're still looking at your slides if you're trying to show a screen.
Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
So you're brave going for the live demo here on the lightning round, but I like it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Do you guys see? Do you see that Moxa remote client?
Yeah, we're with you now.
Okay. So I just signed in. Basically, this key right here was given to me by Marty. He basically sent it to me in an email. You could put it on a USB, any way to get it to it. I applied it, and then I signed in. So now what that gives me is it's AES 256 encryption through an AWS cloud instance. I can look at the device pool that's sitting in Danvers in Marty's workbench. Something I always tend to forget is to turn on the tunnel. I've connected, but I forget, if I don't turn on the tunnel, as you can see, they're all red. So I can't access any of these devices. But as soon as I turn on the tunnel, you can see they all turn green. Now I'm going to actually show you another very easy way. So once those things are green, I got to change my share again. I'm going to go to Google and change my share. And if you notice, if you noticed on the remote client, there was a virtual IP. So what I'm going to do is the virtual IP for the MXView server is 10.0.1.75. So all I have to do is put that in, and you'll see the MXView. I've done this before a couple times. I log in, and now I have complete access to the network, just like I'm sitting on site. Very, very simple, very easy to use. And the beauty of it is with the MRC, you have the end user has complete control of this. Now I could get into the management of this. So if you're a machine builder or you have multiple sites, you can deploy multiple units of MRC and be able to manage it through one singular screen. It's something really to look at up close and personal. If you have multiple sites, you can actually put in the longitude and latitude, or actually it gives you a shortcut. You just put in the name of the city that it's in. It'll come up with the longitude and latitude, and you can manage each of the MRCs individually from a single screen. So you don't have to log in and log out of many screens and log into each one. You can do it from a singular screen. But again, it just gives you the ability to, you know, functionally go in and look at anything on that network that's connected to the MRC. So if I wanted to look at, for instance, this particular device, the virtual IP for that, I can just create a new, excuse me, a new window. I type in its a virtual IP address. Oops, sorry, fat fingered that one. 86. I can log into that. I can log into that switch just like I'm sitting at the site. So that's a quick demo. Let me go back to the presentation, just so you guys. Let's see where the presentation. Right here. So in that short amount of time, I was able to log in, download a key, and log into Martys Lab in Danvers, Massachusetts, and be able to manipulate anything on this screen. So that was our quick link. The beauty of quick link is it gives you full security. So it's AES 256 encryption at the MRC unit, and it also uses the security and encryption in an AWS instance. It's easy to use. It's very, very easy. You don't have to deal with firewalls. You don't have to deal with IT people. You don't have to deal with anything. And it has smart IP, so it makes, if you have a custom application, you can really deal with that as well. And you have access to the firewall that's enclosed within the MRC, where a lot of our competition, they only open certain ports, and those are the only ports that can be used. So if you have any kind of custom application and you need to open up certain ports for your protocol or for your custom application, you can't do that with some of our competition. With Moxa, you can do that. Flexibility, again, 5 concurrent users at once. Up to, using smart IP, you can use up to 25 devices. Without using the smart IP function, you can have as many devices that are connected to that network. And that's it. I think we got in under the wire there, Matt.
Yeah, Tony.
Right now, I'd like to open up the questions.
Yeah, we definitely have some time here for questions. There were a couple that came through as you're presenting here.
Perfect.
Great demo. Really appreciate that. I loved everything about it. The only thing I didn't like is you made it look like Marty's in like Afghanistan. He's under his mask.
Well,
far away from you, man.
Well, you were trying to get to him, so I figured he left the building. So I don't know.
Is this a good time to point out the world's bigger than Massachusetts, Tony?
Yeah.
I thought it was only Texas. Scary.
Yeah, believe that, Tony. Not everyone in the world here is a Red Sox and a Patriots fan. You got to get over it.
That's their problem.
So, a couple quick questions for you. We'll start with some of the ones around MRC. And again, just a reminder for the group: if anybody has questions, just type in the Q&A window. If you want to talk and ask your questions verbally, just raise your hand. The little blue hand goes up, and we'll put you on the spot here. So, regarding MRC, one easy one that came through is regarding two-factor authentication. Can you talk to that with MRC?
Yeah, with MRC at the present time, it does not have it. We are adding that. It's scheduled to be out in June. So basically, the two-factor authentication will be available. It's scheduled for June. Unfortunately, with the craziness that's going on in the world today, it might get moved back. But we're at last check, at the end of June, the firmware will have a two-factor authentication available with it.
Great, thanks for clarifying there. One of our friends in New Jersey just responded and said, "Go Red Sox." Didn't really expect that one, but you're getting some love out there. Thanks, Gregory. Again, regarding Moxa Remote Connect, what are some of the benefits of using cloud-based security and versus end-to-end encryption? I don't know if you guys can talk a little bit about that.
Well, the cloud-based security with the MRC, and I'll let Kerry talk about IoT, but from an MRC perspective, what it allows you to do is it frees you from having to do any kind of server-based updates yourself. Because you're using somebody else's cloud, they're doing all the updates. They're handling all the, you know, firmware, all the software updates. All you're really dealing with is the MRC. So it really, you know, simplifies the management of the unit. And from a hardware encryption perspective, we're using AES 256 and on top of the AWS encryption. So you basically, I mean, you could think of it as double encryption versus, you know, doing an end-to-end encryption where you have to have two units, or you may have to have 2 units on either side. You can just have one, and then the encryption is done, you know, via software. Does that answer their question?
Yeah, it's
Go good,
simply
Mark.
that it's fully encrypted end to end, regardless
Right.
of what's in the middle. It's never
Exactly.
It's never touched in the cloud.
Great, thanks. And let me actually pivot a little bit here, Kerry. I think this question is actually for you. Question going back to some of the gateways you had talked about earlier regarding you know, the connectivity side of it. So the question is, do gateways use or have no red capabilities, PoE, any IO relays, security, environmental hardening? Can you talk to some of the specifics on that?
Sure, I'll kind of go speed round here for these. Node-RED, absolutely supported, many customers building applications on it. We don't preload it, but it's no problem to do that. Oh, and I lost, let me go back.
Sorry,
I got it here. I got it. No problem. So Node-RED, again, yeah, don't pre-install, but yes, absolutely supported, runs on the device. PoE, today we do not have PoE ports on our gateways. We do have PoE injectors, PoE switches that can pair with it, but inside the device today, no. IO, we do have some limited IO on the gateways. Various levels. In fact, I have kind of even a newer gateway here. Oh no, virtual background does not like that.
Hold it over your face. It seems to work.
I put it on my head.
There you go.
All right, there you go. That's a Linux box with modular IO. What we have there. So we do have options. Some customers like it embedded in the gateway, some don't. Whatever combination of IO you ask for, I probably won't have that exact one, which is why we have a lot of customers that will cable over via Ethernet, and Moxa does also sell Ethernet remote IO. But we're also open. You can plug in any other vendor brand IO and communicate. Relays, today, no. We would offer a relay through one of those remote IO products, or you could, again, cable in any other relay you like. Security, it's a really big topic. From a hardware standpoint, though, we do offer TPM 2.0 chips in all of our new products and some of our existing line. That's really become the de facto standard from a hardware standpoint. So we're even going retroactively and upgrading a lot of our existing devices. So TPM 2.0 is what I would point to there. But the security topic definitely is larger than just that component. But that's what I would put there. And then environmental hardening, yes and no. These are definitely wide temp devices. They're industrial, hazardous area rated, lots and lots of environmental hardening, but not directly waterproof or weatherproof. So if you wanted to hang this in an outdoor application, you are going to need some kind of NEMA enclosure to keep the water off of it. So our IP ratings are 20 something rather, but it's very much a traditional industrial automation DIN rail mount type product, and absolutely industrial.
Great, thanks for clarifying on all those points of that good multi-part question there. Thank you for that, guys. Appreciate it. I want to pivot back now to MRC a little bit. We've got some fun questions here for you. The group's definitely going to challenge you on this one, guys. We're going to give you 2 competitive questions. I'm going to start off with the one about how does this compare to just a traditional VPN? Everybody's got a VPN. Why not just do a VPN versus MRC?
Well, a VPN, it's basically acts the same way, but with a VPN, 9 times out of 10, your IT department has to either give you a link through it or provide you with DMZ. With Moxa Remote Connect, you don't need that. It basically it's firewall friendly, so it'll find its way through the existing firewall, like just logging on to a website. And also, we have a cellular version, so you can actually use it cellularly. So if you don't even want to touch the corporate network and you have a cellular service, and I think there's another question about what kind of cellular service do you need. You can just use any AT&T or Verizon SIM card, and if you have a data plan, that's basically all it's using is that data plan, and you never even touch the corporate network.
Great,
And
thanks.
the gateways only make outbound connections. You can't connect into them. So IT is much friendlier towards it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Marty. And there were two follow-ups there related to that from the same person asking, is that over HTTPS, for example, SSL via HTTP?
Yep, it's for port 443 HTTPS, and yep, you can definitely do that. It comes over 80 or 443. And again, as I said, you have access to the firewall, so you can actually put it over any port you want. Whereas a lot of our competitors use specific ports and you can't change them. So if you have for instance, if you have an RTSP multicast video application that you want to access, somebody is mentioning TOSYBox. You can't get at their firewall, and that port, which is 554, I believe, is shut down. So you have to actually change your configuration. You have to change it to a unicast as opposed to a multicast application, because you can't touch the firewall within the TOSYBox. The other thing, we make it a lot simpler to not only connect but also manage. You mentioned TOSYBox. One of the problems with TOSYBox is if you lose the key, you can't just generate a new key. As if I had lost the key that Marty had sent me, he could just generate me a new key and email it to me, and we'd still have the same amount of level of security. If you lose the TOSYBox key, which is a specific USB port, or USB key, excuse me, they can't generate a new key. You actually have to send the entire box back to the factory to have it reprogrammed and have a key rekeyed with that particular box. So that's kind of the difference, is we try to make it a little bit more manageable, a little easier to use. And as far as the end-to-end security, I believe they do use AES 256 as well. So from a security standpoint, I think we're on equal footing there.
Great, thanks, Tony. And it looks like related to that, Matt, who was asking the same questions here, one other little follow-up regarding what happens when you start putting them on the network, if IT doesn't need to be involved, if you could address that.
They start popping up on the network. Now, if you're using the cellular one, you probably wouldn't even see it. From a wired one, that would be a good question. They may see traffic, and they may see some some address resolution protocols, some ARPs or stuff like that, but I'm not sure exactly what he means by popping up on their network.
I think you and Matt and Marty should probably talk more about this. He's got some really it'd be worth a more in-depth, detailed conversation and open the hood and really get into the guts there.
Yeah, that's kind of a complex. That would be a complex issue, but I know that we've gone over a lot of information, and there's a lot of intricacies to dealing with everybody's application one-to-one. So again, on behalf of Kerry and myself, thank you very much for allowing us to talk. And if you do have any more in-depth questions or anything, please reach out to the AutomaTech guys. Or myself and Kerry. You can find us on the web, and we really appreciate the time.